Attorney General Sessions should step up and dismiss this entire investigation. And the judge also has a right to determine they went beyond that, even if Rosenstein attempted to give it to them. He also has a right to determine that by government misconduct, they have fatally tainted this case.
That was Rudy Giuliani, part of the president's legal team, weighing in on the judge overseeing Paul Manafort's case, who recently laid into Mueller's special counsel, demanding Rod Rosenstein's complete memos and accusing them of targeting the president. Our next guest agrees, adding it's time for Mueller to wrap up the probe once and for all. Former Naval Intel Officer Robert Charles served as Assistant Secretary of State under George W. Bush. He joins us now to explain. Robert, thanks for being here this morning. So you say it's time to wrap up the probe. How does that happen, and what can be done to force that hand?
Well, a great question, and I think Mr. Giuliani is probably right in everything that he says. I would focus the attention right now on Congress because there is a request presently pending that Mr. Rosenstein has not honored, and that is a request for the full scope memo that would allow the American people and the United States Congress to understand what this investigation actually was allowed to do. The remarkable part, honestly, is that this inquiry, which Congress has made, has been rebutted by the Deputy Attorney General, who says he's being extorted by Congress. And that's quite remarkable in the context of congressional oversight powers. There are 6 provisions in the Constitution. There are 18 statutes that validate this request, and to me it's just very surprising more than anything else why the Deputy Attorney General, which incidentally he's blocking the production of this document, which may be law enforcement sensitive, but they're fully entitled to get it under the law of the land. It's the exact same document that judge in Virginia is trying to get.
Yes.
So to me, if you get it, to wrap this whole thing up, you have to understand what this whole thing is.
Well, exactly.
And that means you need to get at it.
You're talking about a scope memo, which would have
Yes,
been produced by Rod Rosenstein, which gives the authority for Bob Mueller his left and right limits. Here's what you can and cannot investigate. And as Judge T.S. Ellis is reviewing the case in front of him, he wants to know if the charges being brought against Paul Manafort are within those guidelines, and right now he can't see that unredacted. That's what you're saying.
Right, and to me, although, in 12 days we'll know whether he gets that memo, the United States Congress also has an absolute right to that memo, and they have subpoena power, they have use immunity power, they have impeachment power over high-ranking officials, they have the power of contempt. Ultimately, it doesn't make sense for the Deputy Attorney General, who is a very smart guy, not to sit back, look at frankly, start with the oversight manual. Every American can Google the Congressional Research Service's Congressional Oversight Manual. Look in there. There's 150 pages of case law. Makes crystal clear that Congress has the right to that document.
Yep.
So why aren't they producing it? That's the mystery to me.
Well, Robert, do you believe that Rod Rosenstein is conflicted? I mean, he's been in the middle of this from the beginning. He's the one that helped recommend that Comey no longer be the FBI director. A lot of people are suggesting he's just too involved to be a fair arbiter of what Bob Mueller can and cannot do.
He's certainly in an awkward position. I know he's a smart guy. I think he has a gap in his understanding, and that may be the role that Congress plays in oversight. And, of course, he's responding on multiple fronts to criticism, but at the end of the day, it looks an awful lot like he is conflicted. And I think you have to ask yourself at some point, what's the right thing to do instead of what's the politically right thing to do, or what will cover Mueller's investigation for some additional period of time? You have to ask yourself, is this the right time to just wrap it up?
Well, it's interesting as these judges basically point out, as T.S. Ellis said, it looks like you're fighting for prosecution or impeachment as opposed to going after Paul Manafort. Robert Charles, thank you very much for your insight on this issue. Appreciate it.
Yes, sir.